Okay, we're about to dive into one of the most unsettling ideas in modern genetics. It's a concept that really changes how you look at human history itself. We're talking about ghost populations.
So let's just start with this question. What if entire groups of people, whole civilizations even, just vanished from the human story?
And I don't mean they were conquered in a war or that we just forgot about them. No, I mean their DNA, the very biological record that they ever existed, was completely and totally wiped clean from the human gene pool, as if they were never here at all.
There's actually a scientific term for this: ghost populations. These are distinct groups of people who thrived sometimes for thousands and thousands of years, but when we look at the DNA of every single person alive today, there's absolutely no trace of them left. It's like a whole branch of the human family tree was just snipped off, a biological dead end on a massive, massive scale.
So you're probably asking, how do we even know this happened? Well, let's look at one of the most stunning pieces of evidence, a clue that was discovered right here in the Americas. So picture this, it's 2016 and a team of researchers is painstakingly analyzing ancient DNA. They're pulling it from skeletons found all across North and South America, trying to map out the genetic history of the continents. But they found something that, well, it should have been impossible. They kept coming back to one single number, 84.
So what's the deal with 84?
Well, what they found was just staggering. They identified 84 totally unique maternal bloodlines, lineages passed from mother to daughter. Now, each one of those lines represents a successful chain of survival stretching back thousands of years. But here's the kicker. When they compared the DNA from those 84 ancient lineages to anyone alive today, they found zero matches, not one. Every single one of those lines had just vanished, completely deleted from the story of human survival.
And if you're thinking, okay, that's wild, but maybe it was a one-off thing, nope. Not even close. We see the same pattern in one of the most famous civilizations in history, ancient Egypt.
We've always sort of assumed that modern Egyptians are the direct descendants of the people who built the pyramids. It makes sense, right? But ancient DNA is telling us a completely different story. It turns out the ancient Egyptians were genetically a lot closer to people from the Near East. Over the millennia, through migration and mixing, the entire genetic profile of the region shifted, so much so that modern Egyptians have significantly more sub-Saharan African ancestry. The name of the place is the same, the location is the same, but the people themselves were biologically rewritten.
So how in the world does an entire population get erased? It's not always some big, dramatic, catastrophic event.
A lot of the time, it's actually a much quieter process. A new group might migrate into an area, or maybe the climate changes and suddenly resources get scarce. Perhaps trade routes that a civilization depended on just collapse. Over many, many generations, the new group's genes can just become more dominant until the original group's unique genetic signature is, well, it's diluted into non-existence. It's a slow biological replacement. It doesn't even have to be violent.
And all of this leads to a pretty profound realization, and frankly, a very personal one. Because this isn't just a story about ancient people who are long gone, this is a story about us.
Think about this for a second. Of all the human history, all the countless people who have ever lived, we, the living, are not the sum total of that story. We are just the successful branches on the tree. We are what's left after all the others disappeared.
And that's really the heart of it. The DNA you carry inside you isn't a complete history book of your ancestry. It's more like a highlight reel. It's the survivor's cut. It's the story of only the lineages that, through sheer luck, circumstance, and adaptation, actually made it to today. Every single one of us is basically standing on a mountain of erased histories.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of powerful thought to consider.
So if history is impermanent, if even our biology can be erased from the record, what actually endures? Our stories? Our ideas? Our culture? If your own bloodline was destined to become a ghost population, what part of you would you hope survives? It's a fascinating thing to think about, what our legacy is in the face of our own biological erasure.